On what was meant to be the happiest day of her life, her wedding day, Claire found herself standing at a crossroad. 50 years of suffering had ended in heartbreak. As she lay on her deathbed and discovered that the sickly son she had nurtured with every ounce of her love was not her own. He was the illegitimate child of her husband Andrew and her cousin Melissa. All those years, she had poured her soul into a lie, raising another woman's child while her own daughter suffered in silence and neglect. But fate, perhaps out of pity or justice, gave Claire another chance. She opened her eyes, not to the hospital ceiling, but to a familiar scene, 3 days before her wedding to Andrew Sullivan. This time, Claire was not the naive bride who overlooked betrayal for the sake of love. She remembered everything: the lies, the manipulation, the quiet suffering of her daughter, and the way Andrew had abandoned her even at the last hour. He hadn't even come to collect a dowry, an act considered deeply disrespectful in their tradition. Claire stopped the procession immediately. This marriage was over before it began. Her voice, once silenced by years of endurance, now rang with conviction. Her family and neighbors were stunned, but her mother stood by her side with fierce loyalty. And for the first time in both lifetimes, Claire saw her family begin to awaken to the truth. Her refusal to marry Andrew unleashed a storm within her household. The long-standing injustice between her family and her grandmother's favoritism for her Uncle Mike exploded into full view. Claire bravely stood up, not only for herself but for her parents who had sacrificed everything. In the wake of her decision, the family was finally split, her grandfather severing ties with those who had leached off their kindness for decades. And just when Claire believed she would start over alone, she looked up and saw Nathan Foster. Nathan, the man who had once loved her silently from afar, who had been forced into another marriage because of social status, who had protected her daughter, carried her injured father, and never stopped caring. Without hesitation, Claire did what she never dared in her past life. She proposed to him in front of the entire village. Nathan, stunned and emotional, said yes with tears in his eyes. That moment, in front of everyone who once looked down on her, Claire reclaimed her destiny. Nathan brought over modest betrothal gifts, but inside were treasures more precious than gold: sincerity, honesty, and love. Claire refused to open them in public, protecting them from greedy eyes. And when her family finally split, justice was served. Her grandmother, who had once ruled with cruelty, ended up living in a dark corner of the house she used to control. Uncle Mike, stripped of his privileges, was cut off completely. Claire's wedding to Nathan was nothing short of poetic. Dressed in red, face glowing, she rode through the village on a bicycle with him, laughter of children echoing behind. Melissa and Andrew could only watch from the shadows. Claire whispered to Melissa that she would never stand in the light. No matter what she stole, her name would never be respected. That night, as Nathan carried Claire into their room, their kiss sealed not only a marriage, but a promise that this life will be lived with truth and love. As time passed, Claire and Nathan built a beautiful family with strong, healthy twins. Claire studied medicine and became a neurosurgeon. Nathan, too, rose through the ranks with honor. Meanwhile, Andrew's world crumbled. Lillian, his wife, discovered Melissa and their child. His career ended in disgrace. Melissa, consumed by desperation, poisoned Lillian and was arrested. Their child, once falsely placed on a pedestal, wandered the village sick and starving. When the boy once called Claire Mom, she simply smiled and said, "You're not worthy." Claire's birthday no longer marked the beginning of a life filled with suffering. It became the symbol of her rebirth. She had chosen love, not the illusion of it, but the kind that stood firm through storms. And for the first time, surrounded by family, children, Nathan's warm embrace, Claire celebrated not just her birthday, but her freedom, her justice, and the love story she had always deserved.